Welcome back. So I'm going to try and explain to you a problem that we're going to have in the code later on, and I want to kind of fix it right now so we don't get into that issue. Right now these are the modules that we kind of use and have in our system. Some of them we made ourselves, the top ones here, and then we have those two that we got from Firestore, right? Now how do we actually start using these? Well, right now this guy is bound together with the storage, right? Because now we have a service that can kind of save files right here, and that pretty much means that the file system knows about the storage because we have that file service inside the file system module right now. Now the user, he knows about Firestore, right? So he knows about this guy right here to save user information in the database. So he has a link right here. Now he also knows about the file system right now because he needs to use a way to kind of store the files. Okay, so now we have this dependent on this guy, who's dependent on this guy, who's dependent on this guy. That looks fine, no problem yet. The user also grabs information from this guy over here, so he's also dependent right here. All the modules are kind of working together, and that makes sense. Some of them, most of them, also use the shared folder, so let's just add those as good as we can right here, just out of memory. These guys are using the shared folder, and this guy is not yet. Now here's the problem. I know that when I need to kind of delete a file somehow inside my file system in the database, I might need user-specific information. Now if I need user-specific information, I need to start working with the user module. Now a reference like this, where you go both ways, will give you an exception. And why did I need this line right here? Well, I needed to kind of get access to the file storage setup down here because I have a file service in here, so I don't want that anymore. I want that out of the file system so that we don't need this link anymore. Because then I can keep working this way if I want to, or I can even decide I still want to work the other way, but I only want to work one way, right? So I'm going to remove one of the dependencies in the file system, which is going to be this dependency right here, and I'm going to move that dependency over to the shared folder. And that'll mean that the user can get access to these files using this guy, and the file system can get access to the files using the shared folder as well. So the file service, I'm going to move that from the file system to the shared folder so that they both can go and grab the files if they want to, but from another area. I hope that makes sense. Let's try and do it in the code now, just to show you guys what I mean. We have the shared folder right here, and we're going to add a new directory called files. That's going to be the new area to kind of work with files. Now it's nothing to do with my file system because that's plain virtual system. There's nothing in there about real files. It's actually just the folder structure, right? And what files belong in which folders. But the file service, that's actually a way for us to work with actual files in file storage. So I'm going to move these guys, including the upload task, because the upload task is actually just something I created to kind of work with the upload task right here for the file service. So I'm going to move all of those inside the files right here. Boink. There we go. Now I'm just going to move them. And of course, when I've done that, again, like we've talked about so often, I need to also move the provider right here. And I need to move that down to the shared module instead, right? And again, is this worth doing right now? Yes, it is, because if we don't do it now and consider this problem that I just proved, you might end up having circular references and your modules would just break. And the longer you get into coding this, the bigger the problem will be, trust me. So let's just get this out of the way right now. Now this pretty much means that I don't need to import this guy here either. There we go, that's out of the way. I don't need the Firestore module in here anymore either. Let's just get that out of the way as well. But I do need it now inside the shared folder instead. So let's add it down here. There we go, so now the shared folder knows about the file storage. Let's just import that. There we go. And then the final thing I want to do here is, look how clean this file system is now, because that's actually going to work with the database on Firebase and not the storage anymore. It's only going to know about the database. Just like the user down here is going to only know about the database. And then if we need files, we're going to use the shared folder. So let's just check out the user module if we actually have access to the shared folder down here. And we don't, oh, there's the shared module, right? So everything should still work. But again, just to make absolutely sure, let's just try and jump in here and see if we can actually load our profile for this user. Maybe it'll break. No, it's actually up and running still. So it seems that we're still running, but now we made a cleaner architecture right here for our code. So as the final thing this lesson, how does our structure actually look right now when we made those changes? I made this small diagram right here just trying to explain how our modules work together now. So after we moved the file service up here in the shared folder, which means that this guy is the only one who knows and talks to file storage right now. Perfect, that's out of the way. A simple line right there is representing that talking together, right? The file system is now talking to Firestore, at least he's going to in the next lesson, and he's then using the shared folder. He's going to use that to kind of communicate with the file storage. Our user, he now talks to Firebase through Firestore down here, and he talks to the auth that talks to FireAuth this way, and then he uses the shared folder whenever he needs files, right? Auth folder, he just knows about the authentication setup in Firebase, and then he talks to the shared folder if he needs anything else in that regard. So that's kind of the structure that we're building with right now with the current module setup right now. I'll add albums when we get to that point, but now you kind of have an overview about how our modules are actually structured right now. Now all the ones with Firebase on are of course the third-party library that we're using with Angular Fire. So that's all for this lesson. See you next time, we'll have even more fun.